Hello and welcome to watching my first video, which is a tutorial on how to operate a big nuclear reactor in HBM Nuclear Tech Mod Extended Edition 1.4.2, which is not the base 1.7.10, I believe. Yeah, well, it is not, just like I said. But yes, here I'm going to teach you how to make a nuclear reactor, how to operate it, what to do with it, and what to do with nuclear waste, which is a side product. And so let's get into the process without further ado. So now let's start building the reactor. You're gonna need concrete bricks, 4 or 3 access hatches, 12 control rods, 12 reactor chambers, 1 reactor control, and 2 boilers. Reactor boilers, I mean. Then you want to place down a 3 by 3 platform on the ground, wherever you want. Next up, you're going to want to put a boiler in the middle, then on top of it, the control, and on top of the control, another boiler, and that's them. Then you want to surround these 3 blocks on all sides with control rods. You want to build them pretty high so it covers them except on the top and the bottom because that's already covered. Then on the corners, you can already guess we're going to put the remaining reactor chambers, and that's the core, the basic nuclear reactor. Just a side note here, you can build this up to 15 blocks high, but this is the smallest it can get, and we will use it for the simplicity of this tutorial. Next up, you want to cover the top of it and cover the sides of it, but leave a hole in the middle for all sides, except if you have only 3 the access hatches. Like I mentioned, you can have 3 or 4, but we are going to use 4 for the ease access of it. So now you can guess we put the middles with the reactor access hatches, and now that is your reactor done. You can leave these sides like this, but it will spread radiation out of it. So you want to keep them covered with anything that has radiation shielding. And it so happens that these bricks are pretty cheap, so you might want to use them to do the job. So now that you have the reactor, you can access it by right-clicking this, and you will see a first that may be complex menu, but it's actually really simple when you understand this. The size here, you can see it is the size of how tall your reactor is. It will go up to 15, and that is the cap. Then over here you see 2 meters for water and coolant. You want to keep both of these up because it is necessary for the reactor to run. If either of these run out, you will most likely experience a meltdown unless you turn it off really quickly. So you want to make sure these are always filled or at least not empty. Next up, we have the core and hold temperature right next to these. You want to make sure that these do not reach too high, otherwise, you probably can guess the core experiences a meltdown and it will irradiate your base. Next up here, we have this area right here. I already told you about the size, but here you input any fuel, uranium, plutonium, thorium, MOX, and it's going to put them here, and you can see it says 0% because we do not have anything in there yet. Next up on it, we have the control rods, which can be raised or lowered to start the reaction. When they're at 0, the reactor won't do anything, but if you raise them, it will start doing something, and the more you raise them, the more power it will generate. But so will heat generate more. Like if you have them at 100, you will generate a bunch of heat, which will probably make your core melt down. But it depends highly on what fuel you're using. If you're using thorium fuel, you will most likely keep it at like 80% because the core temperature will be stable, very low. But with uranium fuel, it can go very high and melt down. Then we have this depleted. It will say what fuel you have in there. Currently it's like default uranium, but you can say thorium, plutonium, just the things I mentioned just earlier. And here you can take out the like the nuclear waste out with rods and use it for something else, which I will show later in the video. Right here, down here, you can see the steam compression switch. You can turn it into 1 times, 10 times, and 100 times. The more you have it, the more times you need to process. It's like 1 process time, 2 process times, and 3 process times. And I will show you how to do that later on. And it might be just now. That's the whole basics of the reactor. So you can see here that it needs coolant and water to function properly, otherwise it will melt down. So yeah, keep those in check. Alright, now that you have your reactor and you know how to operate it, it's time to make some energy with it. So first, you're going to need, like most of these here, you're going to first need industrial steam turbines. We're going to use 2, steam condenser, chemical plant, 2 tanks, some fluid ducts. You can use any machine, but this is going to be where energy is going to be deposited. Some cables, some energy storage blocks. You can use whatever. We're going to use this. Then you're going to need some fluid identifiers for low pressure steam, dense steam, water, and coolant. Then you're going to need some other resources like niter and infinite water tanks, which you can actually craft in survival. It's not that hard. You're just going to need some diamonds for them. We're going to use the heavy ones. There's 4 of them. So let's start building this. First of all, uh, about the industrial steam turbines. It depends on how dense your steam is going to be. So we're going to switch in this tutorial the compression to 2, and we're going to need 2 steam turbines for that, but it was 3. We're going to need 3 for it, but let's keep it at 2 so we get dense steam. So now we place our steam turbines like so and connect them to the pipe or the hatch right there and connect them right here too. Next up, we're gonna take a steam condenser and you want to put it here somewhere near a hatch and these turbines. So we're gonna connect the latter one here. Then we're going to need a tank and supply it with water. So this here, this blue means it's only allowed to store. It's not gonna give out any fluids. And this green means it can give and take fluids, and the orange means that it's only gonna give out fluids. So and this means it's not gonna do anything with fluids. So we're gonna put it to green and fill it with this, and you can see it's going to start to fill up this place here very slowly after you put this here. So now you can see it's filling up and yeah. So now you want to take this steam condenser right here and link it here. Actually not there, maybe link it here. So it's way more better like that. You can see it should look something like this now. And as for these pipes, you're gonna need the dense steam, and low pressure steam. For the low pressure, you want to connect it to the steam condenser and this one right here, this turbine, the latter one, or the last one, depending if you have only 3. If you have 3, you're gonna plug it into the last one, and if you have only 1, you want to plug it into that. So, but on the last one anyway. And here we're gonna take the steam and put it right here between these 2. And for here we're gonna put the dense steam, and you have to also run it through here. You can see this. Now this is assigned for dense steam, and this is assigned for normal steam. The reason why we need 2 for the dense steam is that the dense steam runs through here, goes here, and you can see here it is turned into normal steam, which can be reused in here, and it's going to turn it into low pressure steam. This steam condenser is going to turn it back into water so it can be recycled. Alright, so now for the coolant, we're gonna need the tank, another tank again, and put a chemical plant right here. For this, you are going to need an external power source. We're just gonna use an infinite battery because this is a tutorial and oops, I dropped it. There we go. Didn't want to connect it with the pipes of the tank. And right here, the tank is going to be connected into one of the hatches. I'm fucking misplacing these. Sorry about that. So yeah, it's like this, and it is now connected. We just need to assign these with coolant. Both of them need to be coolant, and you want to put this to be green as well. As for the chemical plant, you want to put the coolant mixing chemistry template in here, and then supply it with water wherever you get your water from, and neither. And you guys instantly see it's going to process some coolant, and it's going to supply this thing a constant supply of coolant as long as this is produced. So you want to make sure the coolant level is stable. Now, for the steam turbines again, we're gonna take your red copper cable and put it on the blue side, not this side. This will not support the energy even though it looks like it would. This will only, this right here, you can see it. So now, after you put this, you want to put your energy storage blocks. I'm just gonna put them green. You can keep them on whatever you want to do. And then I'm going to put it into the centrifuge, which we will use later on in the video. That's why I picked it. So now here, that is your entire setup. You can compress it. This is a little messy here, but you can assign it as long as it functions the same, that the wiring is same. Yeah. So now let's get to powering it. Alright, now that you have your setup done, everything is running. You can see it's filled with coolant and water. You're good to go. All you need to do is supply it with thorium or uranium or plutonium or MOX fuel, whatever you have. Usually you will have uranium at the start because you can get it by mixing some yellow cake and other components to make uranium hexafluoride, which can be used in a gas centrifuge to get some small amounts of uranium fuel. But you're gonna anyway fill this with fuel. You don't need to fill it all the way. That's what I'm gonna say here. And now that you can see we have 30% of thorium fuel in there, and it is good to go. Now all we need to do is put the control rods up, and you can see immediately that it's producing condensed steam. The hull temperature and core temperature increased, and it's spending some water and coolant. And over here you can see that the steam turbines are running very, very steadily. And now, oh, I should mention this. You have to wire it up here. These, I don't know how I want to put it here. Sorry about that, but you have to link it to the sides. These things right here on the front won't work. Sorry. So now that that is done, we are seeing that it's getting a lot of energy. A lot energy. You can see that is good. And as well, you can see here in the reactor that it's making some depleted fuel, and you're gonna want to save that up for later purposes. You can wait it up. These will need 4% each. So yes, and now your reactor is running and producing power. How cool! And now we're gonna see what the nuclear waste can be used for. Alright, now that you have some depleted fuel in the reactor, you're going to want to find or build a huge pool of water and put this block called spent fuel pool drum in the middle of it. The more water you have, the better. You'll see why. So now here, you're going to take your depleted thorium fuel, and you want to be careful with it because it's going to be lighting on your fire when you hold it in your hand, so you might want it to be raining or something similar traveling in your water so you don't burn away. And it's going to be really radioactive as well. Now you won't see me burning because I'm in creative, but if I were in survival, I would be on fire right now. And then, after you have your depleted thorium fuel rods or whatever fuel rod you had, you want to take a crafting table or your survival crafting menu and put them through here to get some hot depleted thorium fuel, which is also contaminating. You do not want to drop it. Then you go over here and put them in this spent fuel pool drum. And the reason why you want so much water is because it's going to spend, like, it's going to increase, I mean decrease the time it needs to cool down. You can also see it's gonna tell what it's going to do here, so it speeds up the progress. Let's wait for it to cool down. Alright, after a bit of time, you should see that your fuels have been cooled down and they're no longer hot, but they're still as radioactive. You want to pick them up, have some hazmat gear or something, and walk over to your centrifuge and throw them in. To see why we are doing this. Let's actually take one of these. It's going to make some isotopes of it and radioisotopes relative to radium-238, thorium-232, and radium-233, and some tiny pile of nuclear waste. This is like the final kind of product. You cannot really use this for really, I wouldn't say anything good. You can use it to make nuclear waste, which you can use it to make cloud barbed wire, which is it gives you like poison and radiation. I think you can use it to make whatever the fuck this is. I haven't seen it before, and you can use it to make other weird things. But this is like the final product. You cannot refine this really to be anything else. And yes, you can make bullets out of it, but I don't think they're very effective. So you might not want to use this as bullets, maybe more for the nuclear waste. As in for the depleted, it will only show you, yes, the recipe for centrifuging, so this is your only option while having this. And that's basically everything. Now you know how to operate this cool reactor here, how to get energy out of it, how to keep it stable, what to watch out for, the temperatures, and how to use the side product I mean, how to use the side product, which is the nuclear waste right here. And yeah, that's it. Thanks for watching.